Hi guys, good morning. This is this week's Monday Mojo. I'm your host, Nikki Fogden-Moore, and this is my Instagram live, but also we'll be posting this through LinkedIn, Facebook, and later on my YouTube channel, Vitality Coach TV. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. You'll also be able to find more about this topic on Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast, which is coming up very shortly as we launch into a new season, season 5 on the show. So all those links you can find in the bio on Instagram at @Fogden-Moore, and also you can head to nikkifogdenmoore.com and get free worksheets and find out more about the blogs if you like any of these topics. Today's topic is really important. I just had to do a really short presentation for a board call around staff retention and support for more small to medium enterprises. Now we're talking about still making, sort of smaller to $1 million plus turnovers, up to $250 million or whatever else. But we're talking about the cafe owners right through to startups, founders, to small to medium businesses, and people that are really having to work those extra hours and finding it really, really hard to not only find good new staff, but actually retain the staff that we've got. Now, if you've been reading the news lately and you've been looking at anything on Business Week or Forbes or Sydney Morning Herald, depending on where you sit in the world, or the Financial Review, there's all this news about the slow quit. And there's a lot of an exodus talk about if you're not happy with your job, go, leave it, change things around. It doesn't really matter. You are the employee. You have the right to do whatever you want, etc., etc. Today, I want to talk to you about the flip side of this discussion and what's happening as a result of the slow quit, of what I call fast twitch fibers on being happy at work, and why Siri cannot hand you experience. And there's another way to look at the roles, the jobs, and the opportunities that we have. If you stick with a business that you really believe in, not all employers are the same. You actually, in fact, have many, many good examples of great, hardworking, conscientious employers that are trying to do the right thing by their staff, that are actually listening and putting plans in place to not only get them into the business, but keep them there and give you opportunities to learn, grow your experience, be part of something that's going to create an impact in the industry, whether it's a cafe, it's an accounting business, it's a printing company, it's a coaching business, whatever it is. I want to show you the flip side of the discussion that is rampant at the moment about if you don't like it, just go. You don't have to tell your boss. You can slow quit if you want to. You can fade out. It's like a relationship where you don't actually tell someone you're breaking up with them. You just go and find someone else first, and then you dump the news on them at the last minute. This is not okay. So first thing I'd have to say is, how would you feel if you had started a business and you really need staff in order to scale and grow and have longevity and sustainability? You've come through COVID, you've come through all these pandemic restrictions, you've survived through all of it, and now again you're hit with another epidemic of staff shortages, and also an attitude towards, if you're an employee, then you're separate from the employer and it doesn't matter. As an employer, whatever size, if you're 0 to 4 employees or you're greater, it's really, really tough because you have to think about everything and everyone. Not only do you have to look about your customers, your products, your marketing, your financial planning, your taxes, your staff, your potential customers, your current ones, the ones you haven't met yet, the ones you'd like to meet, keeping the ones you've got happy. You've got to think about feeding your family, feeding the family of all your staff because you're paying them salaries, and you've got to do all the extra responsibilities around that as well. There is a lot that goes on in small to medium enterprise that is not spoken about, that increases a heavy burden. Yeah, at the moment, we're encouraging people to flip jobs like Tinder. If you don't like it, swipe left and move on to something else. The biggest problem with that is that we're losing heritage experience. You're also not able to really build yourself through a career because you're just flipping around jobs. Yes, you might have different opportunities. Yes, you might be trying to find the right potential employer with you. Yes, you might be needing to discover what's in your passion. But I would tell you to look at it from both sides before you take this slow quit idea and fade yourself out from one job into another. Like anything, how would you want to be treated if the tables were turned? So my biggest advice, if you're not happy in your job, have you taken accountability to really define what great would look like? What sort of hours would you like to work? How can you contribute? Where is your capability and your capacities? And if you are sitting there and you're not happy with something, have you truly taken through the lines of communication to present your ideas to your manager, to your employer, because now we know more than ever that anything is possible if you have a win-win situation. And even if you can't have the utopia of everything that you want, you can work towards that with an employer that is willing. We can't use the same script with it's never worked before, it's never happened before. There is absolutely an opportunity if you present what you need and you take the time to define that rather than deflecting, blaming and shaming the fact that that situation doesn't exist for you. Because at a certain point, you're going to need that work. And jumping around different jobs mean you're also diluting the possibility of getting your experience by cutting your teeth on many things. Now, I've been in the driver's seat of jobs for so long. I've had jobs I should never have had because I was way too young for them, but I had to cut my teeth and give them a go and make those mistakes. And that's what's given me experience. We're constantly learning by experience. That's where we get our best lessons. We shouldn't be afraid to fail. We shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. We shouldn't be afraid to fuck up or whatever else. That's how you actually grow your fortitude, grow your resilience, grow your agility, and become really, really good and well-rounded at all the things that make us really good at our work, whatever it is, whether it's a career or just a job. If you decide that learning is by lessons is too difficult, you're missing a whole opportunity to go, well, without that experience, I wouldn't be able to navigate what's just happening now. So what I've found in working with, I'd say the last 10 organizations that I'm doing Leadership Mojo with and Radical Self-Belief and looking at the staff retention is there's a lot of complaining, but there's not a lot of compliments that are going around with what opportunities you actually can create inside your own area and identifying people within an organization that actually want you to succeed. And I certainly know the clients that I work with, they're fantastic employers. They really try to make sure that they provide the best working environment within potential working conditions. They listen to their staff. It might not be perfect, but it's not just your life they're having to manage. It's everyone's life, as well as the customers, the board of directors, the shareholders. They take the burden of everything on board. And also, every time we dilute training someone and bringing them in and then they've gone off somewhere else, you're taking all that knowledge and potential growth, legacy, sustainability and career pathway in a job that you could have, and you're still diluting yourself because you're jumping around so many things that how well do you know you can do if you're really not facing the feedback and the stuff that can make you become better, faster, more agile and more experienced at the job. Because when the chips are down, when things go wrong, it's when experience kicks in. You can't just ask Siri for certain things because sometimes you have to be on the ground and in the trenches to do stuff. The first thing I would say to you is slow quitting, really how you would want to be treated if you were an employer. What happens if you were trying to build your business and create something that you were really passionate about and all you wanted was reliable staff where you could provide a place of integrity, teamwork and a shared intent and purpose? Even if it wasn't perfect, you all were pitching in to create the best environment possible given the landscape at the time. So that's the thing. Football teams, Marine Corps, everyone else that has to work together as a team, they don't just opt out if it gets too difficult. You know, so that's why they achieve amazing things, because when things get really difficult, they actually come together and they have a huddle and they figure out and they regroup what the core priorities are and what the focus is. You need to do this as an individual. Instead of pointing out what's going on and looking at what's going to be the shiny object syndrome, a slow quit might not be the best answer, when in fact you could be creating new opportunities in a place where you already exist if you present your ideas well. And if you identify with your boss, with your manager, and within that organization, what a potential right next step could be where you get more intellectual stimulation. We've all got work flexibility. How do you want to use that? Why is it better to go somewhere else? And is it just about salary? Because at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of other things that come into play, and you could earn all the money you want, but if you're working more time and you don't get a chance to enjoy your life and make good financial decisions, then it will just run through your hands anyway, and you'll always come from a position of lack. So the cons of slow quitting are you really coming from a place of equality, not just for yourself, but for your employer? If they're good people and they genuinely want to do the right thing, and maybe you haven't sat down or presented your ideas properly, please give your employer a chance. And before you jump around and go and try and date someone else in the job market, maybe think about how you could amplify, improve, and engage more in the job that you've actually got. Secondly, if you feel that there is a ceiling and that no one's listening and it never gets through, is that script really real now given today's market? Or could you present something back in a really informed, intelligent and caring way back to your employer where they can't actually say no because the facts and stats are really clear? You know what you can commit to follow through on that, and you're going to build consistency, and that creates radical results together. The third thing is, remember, don't get caught up with what else is going on around you. We see something online, or we look at what someone else is doing in their job and we think, oh, how amazing. And we don't actually look at the opportunities that are right in front of us because we're never settled with what we have now. And that is a really, really dangerous place to sit, because if you're not settled with where you sit now, how are you ever going to know when something is right if you're constantly looking at what's next or constantly looking about what you want to avoid? So the greatest thing you can do for your own personal performance is to get out of survival mode and out of wishful thinking and hopeful thinking, and start putting your plan in place that says, what do I want my future to look like? What do I want my weeks to look like? What do I really enjoy about the job I've got? What's important to me, and where are the focus priorities? And are you managing your life as well as you should be, or are you continually looking outside externally what everyone else is doing and not taking radical accountability to make sure that you're actually showing up for yourself and doing the best job possible? So while everybody else is doing the slow quit, you could actually be the one that has stability, consistency, intelligent conversation, puts some plans in place and sticks in there when the going gets tough, and actually become one of the most high-performing, well-regarded and respected employees in an organization that you work for, whatever the industry. But it's up to you. It's up to you to do something different. But you've got to identify what's important for you first. And also, don't believe everything you read in the media. I say, believe the date, that's about it. So while this is all great discussion, you've got to think about what's the right next thing to do. And if the tables were turned, how would I want to be treated? I read something really interesting the other day, and it was that their sense of entitlement is removing people's empathy. And that was really interesting, because to some degree, in a lot of the work that I'm doing with corporates at the moment, and especially on a bigger scale, thousands of people that I'm working with and I'm doing surveys, I see time and time again a lot of, I would say, finger pointing and blaming and complaining, but a lack of empathy for what's really going on. And I think we have to understand that if you're in an organization that's a huge enterprise and it's got lots of government grants and it's going really well, there's often opportunities where leaders are supported and everything else. But it's the small to medium enterprises, it's the startups, the founders, the mum and dad businesses, the single entrepreneurs that are doing great businesses, and maybe they hit somewhere between 250K turnover to 250 million turnover, because it just depends on the size of the organization. But those people are putting the blood, sweat and tears in. They're staying and doing the extra work when no one else is around. They're working on the weekends. They're worrying about paying your wages and your PAYG and the taxes. They're worrying about making sure the company survives in all conditions. And they're constantly taking the burden of making sure everybody else is happy, clients and staff included. Instead of just thinking, what's in it for me, maybe shift your, what can we do to create a sustainable business that's like a sports team? So whatever's going on, every single person on that playing field has a spot that is really, really crucial to the winning formula to being in the Champions League. And that means not just complaining that you didn't get chosen that week, but actually making it the reason that anyone's going to pick you off the bench, because you show up. You perform, you're consistent, you're radically honest, you're transparent, and instead of complaining about what everyone else has got, you take responsibility, go, what could I do in this company for myself to make a difference? So before you slow quit, be honest with your employer. Take some time to map out for yourself what your capabilities and capacity are, and how you'd really love to have a job you feel rewarded in, and have you actually communicated those clearly to your employer? Because chances are, if they're a great employer, they will listen. It's just the way you present it. So I would say more compliments, less complaining, more clarity, less communication about what's not working. And don't forget, there's always two sides to the story. Not every company, not every founder, not every employer is out to make sure that you have to work maximum hours and don't get anything from it. Certainly the clients that I work with are heavily invested. They care about their staff, they care about their teams, they care about your families, and they want to do the right thing. But they're thinking about a million different things, and you're thinking about yourself and your ecosystem. So the cons of the slow quit is that grass is not always greener. Yes, if you're going to go and swap jobs around, why are you doing that? Is it that you're not settled in yourself and you're just using external circumstances to be a convenient excuse for why you don't really feel happy and being accountable for where you spend most of your time and how you want to show up? Whether it's a job or career, it doesn't make any difference. It's still going to take time out of your day. The other point is opting out completely and taking a benefit or whatever else. If you do want to work, I would say roll your sleeves up, get involved and find an employer who actually is in the trenches and would love to be part of that growth. Because I know personally that once you have people coming on board, it's really hard to manage people, but when you get it right, you keep them forever. And so what's important is everyone that I know starts a business doesn't start a business to rip off their staff. They start a business because they're passionate about it. They start a business because they want to make a difference in the market. They start a business because they believe in something. And they start a business because they love it. So they're the ones that are working till midnight when you've all gone home. Think about the boss that you have and the type of person that they are. Reduce the labels and get back from social media and reading in the news what all these fandangled things are, and think what's truly important in a society where foundations matter more than anything. Because it's when times are tough that you can really lean on each other. It's when times are tough that your employer will say, if you need to go home to your family because your child's sick or your partner's not well, you take that half day off. That's about reciprocal relationships. So my advice is removing an entitled viewpoint of the world and coming to full accountability, to coach yourself, to go, what is it that I want? How do I want to show up? How would I want to be treated? And then actually to demonstrate those actions and to not get sucked up in all the drama of complaining about what is wrong, but actually be radically honest with yourself and say, what if this could go right? What if this could be the most incredible working relationship I've ever had? What if I could have fun at my work because I've actually shown up and tried to take accountability? Now, the worst case thing is when you present your plans, you've done all this work of defining what great looks like, maybe your boss, the company, the employer doesn't really interested, but at least you know what you want, so you can go out and you can find that with conviction and connection. That is really important. The first step is taking responsibility to show up for yourself. You know, ditch this whole it's cool to slow quit. It's making our small to medium businesses really suffer. We're not talking about the impact enough of what happens on founders, business owners, leaders who have put everything into their organizations, and they might not use the right words that you need to hear all the time, but it's your responsibility to tell them what lights you up and how you want to get recognized and rewarded. And I guarantee you, when you actually come from a great place, it's a win-win situation. So rather than blaming your employer, I would say take a few steps back and think, what would be great for me? Have I truly communicated how I want to be rewarded and respected? Is there an opportunity to present that? And if you need more help on that, please leave me a message. But this is definitely going to be a topic that I'm working on a lot at the moment, especially 90% of my corporate clients are really going through a massive shift in culture. Where what we've done, I've created a whingeometer. So we're shifting the whinging from the red zone right back to the green zone, which is creating a community culture, full-on personal accountability. There's no place to hide, and it's difficult in the beginning, but once you get past that, it is liberating, it's freeing, and the relationships that you'll have at work will be some of the best you've ever had. But show up for yourself, stop being so isolated and looking at what everyone else is doing, and take accountability for what your great looks like. How do you want to be recognized and rewarded? What sort of growth and career path had you imagined in that job? Have you articulated that clearly? And give your employer a chance. For all you great radical employers out there, we've got your back. I know what it's like being tarred with a brush where everybody thinks being an employer, you have all the benefits versus being an employee, and it's completely not the case. At the moment, I know many of you are suffering with the burdens of sustainability around your business, managing staff and retention, trying to find a way to keep everybody happy, keeping your own head and your family above water, and then navigating uncertain times in the market from any direction. So I completely understand, and I think we have to come together, whatever your role in an organization, and know that you're not alone. And there's always a way around things, but the most important thing is taking radical accountability for yourself, because nothing bad can happen when you start to show up and you say, this is important to me, this is why, and this is what I'd like to do next. I hope this really, really helps. It's a very passionate topic of mine, as I see so many people from both sides of the world, whether you're an employer or an employee. I know everyone's suffering, but it's time for us to come together. We need to be strong pieces of the puzzle. We need to stop pointing fingers and start taking radical accountability. I know in our office, we've got the best combination now, with amazing flexibility, incredible hardworking people, fantastic ethics, but it took really being transparent. It takes regular checkpoints and huddles. It takes a really honest communication, and it takes that shared vision. And when you have that, you can unlock anything. If you want to know more, please sign up to Monday Mojo on nikkifogden-moore.com. It's so lovely to see a lot of those familiar names showing up on this live. Young Case, Kiki, Case, a lot of Amsterdam people there, which is really amazing. A lot of people from Australia, some of you from the US. It's really exciting to see all of you. Remember, your personal mojo is your responsibility. So stop pointing the fingers at employers and start taking a moment to think, have I really articulated what's important to me? How could I take that to the person? And if you've got this information and you're not sure how to present it, please reach out. I can share the truth quadrants with you and how to have conversations without conflict. Be happy to do that. If you like the idea of that, send me a direct message or leave a comment on the YouTube version of this or on LinkedIn. Most importantly, you need to be in the driver's seat of life. We need to build radically empowered individuals that create a stronger sense of shared responsibility and show up for yourself. Nothing can go wrong when you start doing that. You're only going to have mistakes when you start living in fear and lack and trying to manipulate and sell yourself into a situation. So I hope this has helped, whether you're an employee, a contractor, an employer. The slow quit thing, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. If you can't be honest, like any relationship, this is personal, right? So put yourself in the seat of your employer or your manager or vice versa. And remember, we've got to all be in this together. We're stronger together. We have a shared mission, and that's to have a healthy, wealthy, wise community that we all contribute to. And we're all part of that change. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. Please sign up for Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast. It's on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere. As well as come and join me on Monday Mojo. If you go to a couple of the pages at the moment, you'll also get a free copy of the first checkpoint of Radical Self-Belief, the book, and we're about to do a free intro to the course as well. Everything's on nikkifogden-moore.com. You have a fantastic radical day wherever you are and wherever you're listening to this. Please take away, how can you be the change you want to see for yourself? Remember, so there's so much inspiration, there's so much mental health support, there's so much about high performance. I ask you to strip everything down and just take a moment to define what your great looks like for the next right steps, and that will be your radical sense of self-belief, which will give you a trajectory where you cannot fail. And I'm here to help you at any time along the way. So if you've got Instagram, come join me, and Fogden-Moore, YouTube, Vitality Coach TV, and I'd love to see you there. And thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been insightful. I've been doing this for such a long time now. It doesn't matter about whether or not you're high performing, you're still a person. And that absolutely requires you to consider what makes you happy, what makes you tick, and what adds value in your life. And instead of looking for someone else to fulfill that, the first step is your radical accountability for self. So have a great day. And to all my European friends, I miss you heaps. To my US clients, you're all amazing. And to everyone across the world that's got the book, thank you for sending all your selfies in with Radical Self-Belief, which is this book here. If you want this book as well, it's got all the worksheets in it that I'm talking about, how to get out of survival mode with 7 checkpoints. It's got a full online course, and you can get all the worksheets for free. It's on my store on nikkifogden-moore.com, and it's on Booktopia and Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So until next time, you stay radical, you stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. See you later. Just gonna say a little hello to everybody that joined. Hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Kiki, it was so cool to chat with you today. Okay, thanks for joining. I'll see you on the next live. Have a radical day.